Hello everyone, welcome to the Geoecologist. I'm Dr. Krishnanand, and in this session we are going to learn about the concept of environmentalism. So what is this word environmentalism all about and how it is different from environmental determinism? So let's clear this confusion if you have in this particular session. But before we go ahead, please like and subscribe to our channel and don't forget to press the bell icon for the updates.
So now let's understand what is environmentalism. This environmentalism has this suffix that is ism. So the basic word is environment, and ism is basically talking about a way of life, a way of thinking, a way of explanation. When we talk about any kinds of ism, it basically means that particular way of thinking. So when we say environmentalism, what does it mean? The thought process that dominated, in which the main aspect was environment. So let's understand it further. Environmentalism is basically a political and ethical movement. Okay, so it's talking about a movement that seeks to improve and protect the quality of natural environment through changes to environmentally harmful human activities. So it is basically an ideology or a way of life or a way of thinking that talks about the improvement of natural environment. By doing what? By checking, by controlling, by improving the human activities that tends to degrade environment. So that is the basic understanding of this concept of environmentalism. So that can be done through adoption of forms of political, economic and social organization. So now we have these three keywords: political, economic and social organization. So how are we going to improve this natural environment? By making some political organizations, by doing some economic activities under some economic organizations, and having a social movement for it. So all these three things have to be integrated in order to make good changes, positive changes for the environment. This was the main crux of the environmentalism that we study. So this thought process talks about the reassessment of humanity's relationship with the nature. So what is reassessment or the appraisal that we say? The word is appraising. So what is this appraisal all about? This is about checking one's own action in terms of the relationship with the nature. So how humanity, how the interaction of human beings with nature is there, in what ways? Is it exploitative? Is it talking about only one-way relationship that we draw from the nature? Do we give back enough for the nature? Do we conserve it? Do we preserve it? All these questions are asked when we talk about the appraisal of the humanity's relationship with nature. So under this approach of thinking, under this ideology, environmentalism, the focus is the appraisal of human beings' actions, basically the reassessment of humanity's relationship with the nature. So it advocates for the discussion of environmental statutes, regulations, including the international conventions, treaties, and also some parts of environmental law. So that is important when we talk about environmentalism. So environmentalism, if asked in question, you must have these key words in mind. For example, as I said, one of the three keywords is political, economic and social organization. So these three important work, then reassessment and appraisal, then another two keywords, and also the discussions of the statutes, the regulations, the environmental law part of it. So that is important as well in terms of environmentalism. But remember, many people get confused. In what? Many people think this environmentalism is same as the environmental determinism. So what is this environmental determinism after all? And why is it confused with environmentalism many times? So understand, environmentalism is this particular way of thinking that developed in parallel to the quantitative revolution in geography in 1960s and 70s. Why? Because the entire world was restructuring and consuming resources at a great pace. So many scholars thought about environment, its conservation, and about the human principles, about actions. So this was important. But when we talk about environmental determinism, the environmental determinism is basically talking about that particular idea where we see that physical environment controls the course of human action. So this environmental determinism is a viewpoint, is a paradigm in geography, as we say, that talks about the control, that talks about the functional relationship. It basically means that X is the function of Y. So human beings are the function of nature. So that's important here. So we talk about that everything that we do is actually controlled by nature. So if this viewpoint persists, that is environmental determinism. Basically means environment determines our action. So as we remember right from the works of Eratosthenes, Aristotle's zones of habitability, in the Middle Ages, in the foundations of classical geography, the works of Karl Ritter as well as Humboldt, we find that kind of understanding of the environment and human beings in that particular way. Apart from that, when the work of Charles Darwin came in 1859, so Origin of Species, so that was important. So when the works of Charles Darwin came in 1859, after the Humboldt and Ritter era, we have already studied that in German school of thought, that Origin of Species made this environmental determinism more prominent, where it emphasized upon that nature has its own course and human beings are one of those species, apart from the entire kingdom of species, right from the single cell to the human beings, to the multicellulars. So all these species have their own process of evolution, which is largely controlled by nature. So this thought dominated the larger part of discourse in the studies to come. In the various schools of thought of geography, we understand that there have been many scholars, like for example, William Morris Davis, Ernst Haeckel, German geographic like Friedrich Ratzel, Herbert Spencer, E.C. Semple, who talked about the same idea, that is environmental determinism. But remember, environmental determinism is about the functional relationship. It's not the two-way relationship. But environmentalism is talking about interaction. It's talking about how there is an interaction between human being and nature. What are those actions that human being can take care of to conserve nature? So that is important in the difference of these concepts of environmental determinism and environmentalism. So that is the basic idea here. Now coming back to this concept of environmentalism. So environmental thought and the various branches of environmental movement are often classified into two intellectual camps. So these intellectual camps is basically talking about different schools of thought or different schools of learning. So one is the anthropocentric school of learning, basically talking about human-centric. Okay, that's why it is anthropo. So human-centric study, they talked about the orientation of this concept towards human-centered. And the other one is talking about the biocentric approach, that is the ecosystem approach, that is the life-centered approach. So that is more of a naturalist approach. So one is humanist, one is naturalist. So these are two different camps when we talk about the study of environmentalism. So this division has been described in other terms as shallow ecology, which is largely talking about the anthropocentric approach, while the deep ecology, that is talking about the basic parameters, the basic understanding of the life-centered approach. So this is also sometimes referred to as technocentrism versus ecocentrism. So human approach is basically talking about the technological advancement, the ways of exploitation of nature and conservation of nature at the same time, while the ecocentrism approach is talking about the bidirectional relationship. It is talking about the system approach, talking about the variations and variables. So that is important here. So anthropocentric approaches focus mainly on the negative effects of, that is, environmental degradation has on human beings and their interests. So anthropocentric approach is basically human-centered approach. It talks more in terms of human beings' interest. So basic idea is conserve nature. Why? Because we need to sustain. If we don't conserve nature, then it will be a problem for us as human beings. So this approach is anthropocentric approach. While the other approach, the life-centered approach that we study, is talking about different aspects. That is talking about the coexistence. That is talking about harmony. So that is difference between this deep ecology and the shallow ecology. So that's where it is important to understand this both aspects, both the intellectual camps of environmentalism. So by 1960s and 70s, it was generally a pessimistic idea of environment, about the reflection of the pervasive sense of civilization malaise and a conviction that Earth's long-term prospects were bleak. So basic idea that started generating in 60s and 70s were talking about that civilization is going to collapse. This was a very pessimistic way of looking at the going on ways of exploitation of resources and nature. So many works that were written in 1960s and 70s are here listed, like Rachel Carson's work Silent Spring came in 1962. Garrett Hardin's work The Tragedy of Commons came in 1968. Paul Ehrlich's work The Population Bomb came in 1968. Donella H. Meadows, as we know, the Meadows and Meadows report of limits to growth, that came in 1970s. In 1972, Edward Goldsmith's work The Blueprint for Survival came in 1972. So this was the time when lots of development was taking place. If you remember 1960s, the development of space program was going on in America and Russia as well parallelly. The development of modern concepts in geography, like the concepts of continental drift, plate tectonics, these were getting advancements. Then the rise of computer-based mapping and technologies, statistical methods, scientific explanation, this was gaining a rise. So the ways of analysis of what is going on, this spatial phenomena, developed into a great deal of substantive understanding of the environment at that particular time. So it was understood in terms of the scientific ways of understanding, that is, that we are reaching the limits to what we could sustain. So most of the work in 1960s and 70s of these great scholars said these similar things, that if we don't stop our ways of consumption of this environment, if we don't talk about environmentalism, then we are going to lose this civilization. So that is where we see that the terminologies like apocalyptic literature or the apocalypse, when we study apocalypse, so many Hollywood movies you may have seen talking about apocalypse. So this apocalypse is not just coming from the concept of Bible or the Judgment Day. It's actually coming from the ideas of environmentalism, apocalyptic understanding, or the survivalism, or the literature that was dominated by these ideas of the end of the world now started to be part of the common talks. So this is what is we called as environmentalism. So there are many other works. For example, Robert Heilbronner's work, An Inquiry into the Human Prospect, came in 1974, that argued that human survival ultimately required the sacrifice of human freedom. But at the same time, the optimistic school was also there. So for example, the counter arguments such as those of Julian Simon and Herman Kahn's work, The Resourceful Earth, in 1984, that came. So they talked about the possibilities, the probabilities of survival, the talk of sustenance rather than the talk of Judgment Day or apocalypse. So that was important at the same time as well. So what we observe is that world's first green parties emerge because of this environmentalism. The Values Party, the nationally based party in New Zealand, and United Tasmania Group organized Australian state of Tasmania that were founded in 1970s. The first explicitly green member of national legislature was elected in Switzerland in 1979. So this is resultant of the environmentalism that prevailed. Also in 80s, that environmentalism became global and lots of organizations, non-governmental organizations. For example, Greenpeace, Friends of the Earth, and World Wide Fund. These were established and created worldwide awareness. Although a small number of bilateral and multilateral international agreements were also done in 60s, and especially in 1972, when many nations met at this United Nations Conference on Human Environment in Stockholm, as we remember, very famous in 1972. So this also led to a global understanding of this concept of environmentalism. Furthermore, what we see is the changing nature of public debate on the environment was reflected also in the organization of 1992 United Nations Conference on Environment and Development, that is the Rio Earth Summit, after 20 years of 1972. So the Stockholm Conference in 1972, Rio in 1992 led to this wide-scale movement of environmentalism, as we know, in which about 180 countries participated. As we know further about Kyoto Protocol, Sustainable Development Goals, Paris Agreement, all these are related to the environmental movement, the concern for the environment and assessment and appraisal of human actions. So that is what we study under environmentalism.
So now, when we have learnt about the idea of environmentalism and its entire journey right from 1960s till present, we understand that there is this basic line of difference in geographical thinking, in thought, in terms of environmentalism and environmental determinism. So stay tuned, stay safe, and all the best wishes.